Investing in civil engagement is more than just running for office or volunteering. It requires you to be invested and engage in conversations that spark change and bring about positive debate on the issues. For Patrick Johnson, he's not interested in changing the world. He's more concerned with leaving the world changed. He's the founder of the Civics Institute, whose mission is to provide Americans with the tools and knowledge they need to become actively engaged members of their communities. Lowering the barriers towards civic engagement and deepening the understanding of the civic responsibilities Americans hold. Johnson joined me this week to have a conversation about civic engagement and how we can all get involved in the process. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. We started our conversation by tackling the question, what does sustaining and diversifying civic engagement resemble over an elongated period of time?
Yeah, absolutely. What my experience has been is a lot of volunteering in various campaigns, or I've served on a town commission, a technology commission in my old hometown before I moved. I spent 2 years plus there, and it gave me a real interesting view of how, if you have experience in something, you can give back to your community and reach out. Those types of boards and commissions are always looking for people because it's volunteer. A lot of people don't know about them, and it's something that can really help the town and help out with their ability to have high quality expertise for no cost.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me, what is, I guess, the key to sustaining civil engagement and getting people excited about the process?
So I think one of the things that's really key is, understanding what's available to you. I feel that too many people think civic engagement and they think either it's just voting or it's running for office. And that's really not the only things that it is. Those are the two most prominent, versions of civic engagement out there. But there's really so much more you can do in terms of, if there's a cause that you care about a lot, it could be affordable housing, it could be climate change, it could be whatever issue that matters to you. There's something you can do for it in your town, in your community. And then
go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I said, and then just expanding on that, is there stuff you can do within, your business. If you work for a corporation, there's an issue, you can bring it up and try to activate people to do something, and all of a sudden you're raising money for children's books somewhere just because you brought it up within your corporate. So there's different ways to do it. You just have to kind of look for it and understand where it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me, what is, I guess, the number one way we can get American democracy working again, or every individual citizen is involved in the American democratic process?
Yeah. So there was a point in time many, many moons ago where we had 80% turnout in American elections. And since then, it's really pretty much less than 50% for all elections except presidential elections. And I think part of that is we don't think that things are working, so we don't show up to the elections that matter the most, your mayoral elections, your town council elections. Those are the ones that set your property tax, that set, the policies that allow businesses to come into your community or not come in. And, we're just not aware of what's going on. And so the biggest thing for me is getting people to show up and vote in every election, and not only vote, but understand the issues that are going on by kind of finding the resources and information that are out there, because they're there. There's people who talk about them all the time. You just need to start looking for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Patrick, tell me, why do you think that the American political experiment is so divided and fractured today? And, it's sort of always, in this new environment, become territorial as well. So what do you think has happened to a civic conversation in politics?
So the 30,000-foot view answer is it's polarization. We've always been polarized to an extent in America, but the last 30 or so years, it's become really, really polarized, paired with a kind of deterioration of our educational system. So public education and what people are learning isn't as strong. So there's just a lot of tension between understanding the complex issues, which require a long-term strategy to fix, and then the short-term incentives of people trying to get elected and people wanting, inflation to go down. Now they want their wages increased now. So that tension and the not understanding the interplay, I think, plays a big part of it. And then in terms of civic discourse, civil conversation, it's something where you can't have it unless there is a mutual understanding on the basis of what you're discussing. So we've become so more, once again, polarized on our differing beliefs. The hot topic issues, gun control, abortion, are like the most prevalent high level ones, but we can't agree on any facts. So there's no way to civilly discuss that, because we're just fighting about our beliefs, and you don't believe what I believe, and that just leads to emotions rather than logic. I think one of the cool things I've seen is, as I'm a liberal, I'm involved in Democratic politics, and it's well advertised. There's the progressive left wing Bernie Sanders supporting type, and then there's the moderate, moderate like Joe Biden types, and then the conservative wing Joe Manchin types. And within that frame, there is a lot of civil discourse, because we all agree on an underlying basis of facts. We just think there's different ways to get there. And I think that's really what we need to get back to, is all America agreeing that there's a certain level of stuff that we can discuss, and then you can have a civil conversation about how to solve it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you're currently working on something called the Civics Institute to provide American citizens with the tools and knowledge that they need to become actively engaged members of their communities and political process. So tell me about the mission of the Institute and why it's so important to you, buddy.
Thank you so much for bringing up the Civics Institute. So I started the Civics Institute, and I'm building it basically from the ground up right now, because when I got involved in this journey 5 years ago, I didn't know where to go, what to do, who to talk to. I sent out some emails. I made some phone calls. Nobody got back to me. And I signed up for a mailing list for one of my state senators, got an email that there was an event happening at the parking lot of a ShopRite. I went there, talked to the state senator, and there was a guy, Dan, there with his kids, and we got talking. And then he said, oh, there's a kickoff event for this town council candidate in a couple days. You should come by. Here's the location, et cetera, et cetera. If I'd been 5 minutes late, if Dan had shown up a half hour earlier, I never would have met and then started and met all the people who I did that got me on this journey. So I wanted to have a place where if someone's ready to get ready, they can say and go to the Civics Institute and say, here are all the tools. And they'll see, websites they can go to, how to get in touch with people, what to do, and just not have those wonderings of what to do, and they can just get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also curious to ask you about your thoughts on the state of voting rights in America. It's a hot topic on any cable news channel that you watch, and just about in general about the future of American democracy. So I'm curious about your thoughts on the state of voting rights in America.
Yeah, that's a great and important topic. And what's crazy to me with voting rights is how every state is so different. And I'm in Connecticut, and we're pretty good on voting rights and making sure everybody is enfranchised to vote and there's not long wait lines and everything. But even here, there's things that can be improved upon. Early voting. We have this archaic system set up for the second Tuesday in November because that was the best day for agrarian farmers in 1792 to get and vote. So we need to, if we believe in American democracy, which I want to say most of the country can agree on that democracy is good, American democracy is good, why aren't we doing everything possible to ensure everybody can vote? And it's going to be a battle because the truth of the matter is there are people in America who are more concerned with their political power than actually making sure the people who make up a democracy, the people themselves, have power, which is your right to vote.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to dive into your thoughts on how we eliminate barriers towards civic engagement and deepening the understanding of our civic responsibility as Americans. How do you think we accomplish that goal?
So I think it comes down to three core aspects. One is understanding, and that is an understanding of what is civic engagement, where can we go, kind of going back to what I said earlier, and just knowing what makes up state and local government. Two is transparency. I know when I got involved, it was so hard to find out who do I talk to, where's the contact information. And so I think there needs to be a transparency so citizens know what their rights are and what is available to them. Even in not even the civic engagement area, I have a family member who's a senior in senior housing, and I'm heavily involved in, understanding state and local government. And I just found out a month ago that they're eligible for like $50 a month internet costs because it's buried in a 17,000th paragraph of a, law that was passed. So I just think educating people is the third piece on all those interplays and what occurs can help them be more involved because then they know what issues to talk about and who to talk to. And I think that's a big piece of just showing that it's humans talking to humans.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also say one of your missions in life is not to change the world, but to leave the world changed. And so I'm wondering why that motto is so important to you.
Yeah, so I came up with that many years ago. I was really steeped in a personal journey of learning my, what makes me tick and what I want to do in the world. And, there can only be so many Nelson Mandela's, Mother Teresa's, those truly worldwide transformative figures. But every single one of us can go into our communities and change things. And, I've started to pay attention the last couple of years, and all these parks and street names and bridges that are, the Alto Bello Highway, the Johnson Bridge, whatever those names are. Those are people who were working in the community that got something named after them because they made a difference in their community, made an impact. And I think a lot of us just think they're random names. It's regular people who stepped up and wanted to make where they live better. And we can all do that. And it just kind of centers me to focus.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned this earlier, but you said that civic engagement is more than just running for office and volunteering. So to sort of encapsulate your whole mission or reason for doing this, what do you tell people about the importance of the impact they can make if they engage in civic engagement?
Yeah, so I'll give a really personal example that kind of showed the difference that you can make. And nobody may hear about it, but you'll always know is about 8 months into me getting civically engaged in 2017, there was a planning and zoning meeting in my town regarding a construction company slash an apartment company that wanted to and was building nice luxury apartments in town. And there was a law on the books in the town because of state statutes and stuff. They need to catch up to a certain level of affordable housing, where any new constructions of more than 4 units had to be 20% affordable housing. And turns out that this apartment company is the same company that rented and owned my apartment building. And so I knew firsthand how much my apartment cost. And they had a proposal. They were trying to do an exemption that they said, well, we'll keep all these luxury apartments full price, but we're going to make more affordable housing in the other apartment buildings we own in town. And affordable housing was $40 less than the rent I paid at the time. And the apartments they were renting out were going to be like $700 more a month than what I was paying. Long story short, it would have netted them about $500,000 a year and kept young families who are starting out and don't have a lot of money from being in nice housing, which can be transformative to people. And I stood up and I testified, and it wasn't just me, but it was a whole group of us who were testifying, and I gave public testimony, and it swayed the Planning and Zoning Commission to vote down the exemption. So 20% of those brand new, really nice apartments had to be affordable housing, and allowed people who wouldn't normally be able to get in there and have a wonderful place for their family. And that's an impact you can make right in your own house by showing up.
Johnson reflected on the imprint he wants the Civics Institute to leave and how he wants the effort to be perceived.
The way I would gauge success is, and I've been really kind of weighing and thinking about that the last couple weeks, is on one part, people who come to the Civics Institute and learn from it is staying engaged with them and seeing how many boards and commissions do they join, what do they do, and that's a measure of success to see if they come in and they weren't doing anything in their community, and then you see them grow and continue to be involved. And then I think more importantly is, when the Civics Institute isn't needed anymore, right? That's the ultimate sign of success, is people are civically engaged and they're going and starting their own thing, using what they've learned to teach other people how to be civically engaged. And then I don't become relevant. I think that's the ultimate success, when people are just engaged. And that's kind of the big, bright, shiny goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me, Patrick, if people want to get connected with the Civics Institute or you personally, what's the best way they can do that, buddy?
Absolutely. So my website, www info@thecivicsinstitute.com, and you can reach me via email at patrick@203politics.com. Happy to answer any and all questions. And then I also have a Substack newsletter that I write, and it'll be weekly. Every Wednesday is the plan right now, and that's civicsinstitute.substack.com.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Patrick, I really enjoyed our conversation about civic engagement in the state of American politics. Your work in the space and time on my behalf is most appreciated, Bonnie, and I want to thank you for engaging in conversation with me this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
You're most welcome. This was great. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.